Yo, welcome back to another episode of Texas Underground. I am your host, JVaz. As always, make sure you follow us on all social media pages at The JVaz Show. And as always, this show is brought to you by La Conecta. Make sure you guys check them out at shoplaconecta.com. As you can see, we got the air fresheners with different characters. We got the Cut Energy Drink para que andes al 100. We got the hats. You might have seen this book on TikTok, La Mamalona That Could. It's going around TikTok, being read by all the TikTok influencers out here in Texas. They got lanyards, they got keychains. You know what I'm saying? They got the custom license plates, which you'll see here in a second. And it's also brought to you by GT Digital Distribution. If you're an independent artist looking to take your music to the next level, make sure you hit up GT Digital Distribution at gtdigitaldistribution.com, and they'll help take your music there. Joining us today, man, we got, actually on Texas Underground, you are our first Corpus Christi artist. He's a rapper, songwriter, coming out of Corpus Christi. Ladies and gentlemen, AB DVinci, what's up, man?
Yo, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, man, appreciate you stopping by, bro. I know it's a drive, so you're actually coming from Austin, so we'll talk about that transition here in a minute, but yeah, we appreciate you stopping by, bro. Like I said, you're actually about to be our first artist on the wall from Corpus Christi.
That's big.
I think everybody out there's from San Antonio and Houston. I'm trying to see who's all on there, but it's San Antonio and Houston mainly, and I believe you're going to be our first Corpus Christi artist up there, man.
It's an honor.
So let's get into it, bro. Corpus Christi, born and raised. Again, you're one of our first Corpus Christi artists that I've had on the show. So we'll talk more about, Corpus here to get to know the culture and what's it like growing up in Corpus. So what was it like growing up in Corpus Christi, man?
It made me, you know what I'm saying? It was cool. We're originally from Robstown, Texas, which is pretty much part of Corpus. It's a barrio about 30 minutes outside of Corpus. We're from West Avenue E. You know what I'm saying? My pops is from Dakota Street, and it's a little barrio, so you get all the small town feels. Everybody knows everybody. You know what I mean? Like your family's close by. It's just like any other close knit hood. You know what I mean? You got your corner store. You got your local hustlers. You got your family members around the way, and I connect a lot of good memories with Robstown. And then we moved to Corpus by like Oso Park. You know what I'm saying? When I was a little bit like in elementary, 6, 7 years old, we settled in from Robstown to actual Corpus, and it was a change. Like it's all the same city, but we went from like more of a country barrio type to like in the city, if you will. At least to us, it was like the big city, and it started. Things got getting a little bit faster there, and like you gotta have thick skin in Corpus, you know. But I met a lot of good people. My family is from that area. My closest friends, my brothers, I met in Corpus Christi, but it's different. It's an interesting place. It's an interesting dynamic. You gotta have thick skin. You gotta stay focused on what you want to do, and you gotta find a way to make money, and sometimes find a way out, like to grow. But it's a place you always want to return back to because you got the beach. It smells a certain way. The air is different there. The food's different there. So you always miss that Selena music in the background and the taco smell in the air. It's a very heavy, like Hispanic cultured city, so it always feels like home when I go back.
Is it a small town? Because a couple of things that you mentioned kind of reminded me of where I grew up. I grew up in the smaller towns, Waller and Hempstead, and like you said, you want to grow out of those cities. You want to move out and become something. But then as I got older, I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back just because it's home. It's home, you know what I mean? And every time I meet somebody that's from a small town, they tell me the same thing. It's like, growing up, you want to move out, you want to become somebody. And as you get older, you're like, yeah, but that shit ain't that bad. You know what I mean? So was that a small town that you grew up in?
Yeah, that's accurate. That's exactly how you feel. Especially like if you have ambition. Not to say that anyone that stays there doesn't have ambition, but if you have ambition further than what they got to offer there, it's tough to stick around because, there's such a thing as like opportunity. And that city, it doesn't have a lot of opportunity unless you want to like work at the naval base or the refinery. At least growing up there, things are changing now with a lot of tech moving in the area. But back then, it was just like an industrial city. So if you weren't looking to get in that field, it's hard making a living there, an actual living where you get a nice crib, nice car, and like even if you want a ball, like you're not going to really find a lot of opportunity to make a lot of bread in Corpus, at least growing up. So if you want to do music, you know, if you want to do anything of the arts, it's a tough place to be in. But everyone there's like a hard worker. Everyone there's like blue collar. Everyone there knows the meaning of work, and then having a side hustle, and then having a side hustle. So you learn a lot from growing up there. You learn to appreciate a lot. You learn to appreciate how to do without, and then so when you get a little something, like it feels bigger than what it is, because everybody, it's a humble place to be. Then you step out for a little bit in Houston, Austin, and it's like you stepped out and out of state, or like out of country even.
Yeah.
So it's not a small town, but it's a small city. So it's like a paradox. Like you have a downtown, you have the clubs, you have everything that a big city would have, but it's just like, it's like GTA.
Condensed.
Yeah, it's like a GTA map. You could really get from one end to the other, like, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like a miniature city. So yeah, it's a small town per se.
Man, speaking of growing up and whatnot, you mentioned, you know, being ambitious and living in these towns. I was reading, you know, I got to look into your biography and whatnot, and I was reading that you mentioned growing up, your mom and your dad split up. You mentioned your dad loved you, but he was into the streets, and kind of your mom had to separate from that. What was that like growing up, man? And how has that impacted you as a person, and does that reflect in your music?
Yeah, that was a real transition. It was hard to go through as a kid. They divorced when I was like 2 or 3, and before we even got to the point where I could see my dad like once every other weekend or once a month, he had to really like change his ways, which took a long time to do. So I grew up like really with my mom raising me, my grandma raising me, and then as my dad started cleaning up his act, I was able to see him a little bit more and more. But the thing about it is, like, it wasn't like I kind of grew up around a bunch of cats from the streets, and I'm trying not to like sound cliche or like glamorize anything, but like my grandpa, you know, was heavy in the streets. He did a little time when my mom was a teenager, and that always kind of followed him or haunted the family because of what he was involved in with, you know, a lot of big names like having to do with like La Raza Unida, a big movement back in the day with Ramsey, who made the news when he got out, when he was released. And you know, that was in my bloodline. And my dad, you know, on the opposite side of the family, my mom and my uncle Danny, and a lot of other my family members, they were really, you know, they were really outside like that, you know. So I grew up a lot of things seeming normal or seeming like just like not really right nor wrong, just the way things were.
Yeah.
And then my mom was kind of the first person to really kind of snap out of it, or wanting to break like a cycle, if you will. And not to make it sound dysfunctional, my family's full of love and like honorable stand-up men and people. It wasn't a bad childhood. It was just, you don't know these things is like not normal. Like not every family is like that, you know? And then my mom was the first one to quote unquote want normal. And my dad, he was a wild boy. Like he wasn't the husband or the marrying type. So he was always out in the streets doing this, that, and the third, ripping, running, never home. It was the 80s. So there's that, you know, everybody was wilding out in the 80s on something. And the 90s came, and he wasn't really any too calmer. So my mom had to do what she had to do, and they split up. And then that's when we moved to Corpus. And my pops and my family mainly were still in Robstown. And we were kind of like the first to really come over and settle in Corpus, like in the big city, if you will. Like I said, at least it was to us. And that's when she met my stepdad. She started over, and she started really trying to plant roots of like normalcy. And, you know, that kind of like that nice life that every kid should have and stuff with my stepdad. But I'm my father's son, and you know, and Corpus is Corpus. I mean, you can't really be sheltered from Corpus. So you step outside like you in Corpus, and you're gonna pick up certain things and learn certain things. Then with my dad and my grandpa, my mom's side and my dad's side, both being in my DNA, like there's just things that it's just inevitable, I feel. And but yeah, man, I like to say I got the best of both of them, my mom and my dad. And before my mom passed, like months before my mom passed, I finally got to see them in the same room. Like I never really seen them in the same room till I was like well an adult, and they came to my house in Austin. I invited them out for Thanksgiving, and that was the first time my mom, my dad, and my stepdad were all in a room. Then my mom passed like 6 months later. So
Sorry about that.
no, thank you, man. Thank you, bro. It was lung fibrosis, so it happened pretty quickly. And then I got to tragedy brings people together, and sometimes, and me and my dad have been close, like a little bit before that, before my mom passed, but then super tight as my mom passed. And then when I moved to Austin, he came with us and stuff. So, me and Pops is like cooler than ever. Like we're making up for a lot of lost time. Yeah.
That's good to hear, bro. I want to touch on a couple of things you mentioned. First, the growing up in a certain environment and thinking it's normal. Like, it's crazy because I grew up in an environment similar to what you're describing, where my dad was in the streets and moving around was normal, right? Because we had a house in Mexico, we had a house in McAllen, and waking up at 3 a.m. because we didn't know what the fuck was going on, but hey, wake up the kids, boom, next thing you know, we're in Mexico. That was normal. And then randomly another day, 2, 3 a.m, wake us up, boom, we're back in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know no difference. So that shit was normal to us. And then I start growing up, having conversations with other of my friends, and I tell them this stuff, and they look at me like, you full of shit. And I'm like, I'm not.
You're like, well, you're not trying to cap, right?
Like,
you're
this is what's happening. And then they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what does your dad do? Like, I mean,
right.
Like, it's shit crazy growing up because either they think you're lying and their life is just too different. And it's too different. I have one friend that got to be around my dad when my dad was doing his thing. And my pops just passed away recently too.
I'm sorry to hear that.
About three years ago. And that's why I'm able to connect to a lot of things you're saying. And he's the only one that knows like the whole story of my family. He's been my friend since like 5th grade. You know what I mean? I'm 36 now, so we've been friends for like fucking 20 something years. So he was the only one that actually knew about my, how my life was. But again, growing up, a lot of this shit that you see on a daily basis is normal to you. Then you share it with your friends and they're like, bullshit, because they have no idea. They don't have no experience with, random shit like that. And it's weird. It's weird, but it's cool as you get older because it's like I've witnessed, my life has been wild, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You realize you're a little bit ahead of the curve than like a lot of kids, and you have like, you probably had like a lot of older friends growing up. Like you're probably like the young one, and you had a lot of older friends because you're raised around like, you just emulate what you see, and you're raised around like a more serious tone.
Yeah.
So you end up acting like your grandpa or like your dad, or and then so your friends tend to be older. You gravitate to them.
Your mentality is completely different, and it's hilarious because, not that long ago I had a conversation when I was talking about my trust issues and why I don't fuck with certain people, and I was explaining to my ex-girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, and I seen like this smile on her face, and I'm like, what? She's like, I think you're over exaggerating. And in my head I was like, nah, I've seen people get fucked off for less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not over exaggerating. But again, it goes to the mentality of if you've never experienced or if you've never been in that environment, then you think I'm full of shit or you think I'm over exaggerating. But if you've seen the things that I've seen, things that I've been around, then you completely understand why I can't just trust people. You know what I'm saying? Like why I carry myself a certain way, why I hate sitting with my back against the wall, why I do things. You know what I mean? Like
why nobody comes to the house? Like what?
Exactly.
Well, my kids wonder why I ain't got no friends. I'm like, I got friends. They're not allowed at the house. Like maybe 3. Maybe 3.
See, yes. You know what I'm saying? I had a party one time and I invited a friend, one of my friends, and he invited some of his friends. And I got pissed. Like, bro, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, they're cool. They're cool. I'm like, I don't know them, but they're cool people. I'm like, with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when I have parties, I invite like 10 people that I've been friends for like 20, 30 years. Those motherfuckers can walk in my house. That's
a lot.
They can walk in and out of my house. I don't have no trust issues. It's their house.
Yeah. No,
once you bring somebody else, that shit changes, bro, because I don't know what your intentions are. They're cool. Yeah, with you. Yeah. I don't know these motherfuckers. Like
now you got an RSVP. We had an understanding, you know what I mean? Now you got an RSVP. Yeah. Let me know who you bringing. So same way, bro.
You were saying that, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels, some type of way with growing up in a different environment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can relate, bro.
But let's talk about music, bro.
Yeah.
So, you grew up, seeing certain things and whatnot. What was it that attracted you to music? What was it that was like, you know what I'm saying? And I want to ask especially now that I know more, you know, with what you're telling me, because I had this conversation with my mom like 2-3 days ago when I'm like, people were expecting me and my brothers to be like my dad, and I'm like the complete opposite. Like, you know, my dad never wanted us to be like him, like, you know, keep us away from the streets.
Yeah.
So I'm like a fucking tech guy, a fucking podcaster. You know what I mean? But what was it that interested you, that you were like, you know what, this music shit is my thing?
That's like kind of three things like led me to music, you know. One, probably, you know, get this one a lot, but I grew up in a house with a lot of music, right? Of course, your parents are music lovers. They value music. They collect music. It means something to them. It's not just background noise. So my mom always had an ill record collection, cassette collection, and so did my pops, and they had diverse tastes. So I grew up listening with a lot of different genres of music playing during cleaning house and just existing in the car. You know, we always kept a record or cassette player in the house, and definitely cassettes and CDs in the car. So I grew up loving music, emulating rock stars, pop stars, like in the living room with the mic. So I always knew I wanted to entertain, but or be an artist or be something where I got to express myself, right? And the bar was so high, you know, as a singer, you know, you got Michael Jackson, you got Prince. Like, unless you were like a real legit musician, you could like set that one aside, you know, because I wasn't introduced to hip hop. Like, I found a lane where I was like, probably not going to be a musician, although it was always back there.
What music was being played at your house? My bad.
Man, at my mom's, that's a good question. At my mom's, everything. She was always up like on the cutting edge of like whatever was hot at the time. We had Diana Ross, we had Janet Jackson, we had Prince, a lot of Michael Jackson. We had who's that dude that sings with the curly hair? Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a lot of good pop hits of the time, as well as all the Tejano classics that every Mexican kid grew up with in there. You know, La Mafia, Maz, Grupo, anything, everything, dog. You know what I'm saying? All the grupos, Intocable, they go hard. All the Selena hits. So it was a mixed bag at my mom's. And then my pops, he's an old soul. And I grew up listening to a lot of like blues music, country rhythm and blues. I grew up listening to a lot of Elvis, a lot of, he liked B.B. King, like Marty Robbins. My grandfather liked Johnny Cash, things like that. So a lot of good writing, a lot of good storytellers, a lot of good heavy music, you know, with messages and themes. And then as well as a lot of the pop stuff, a lot of the hits, a lot of good production going on, a lot of color in the music. So that naturally, just growing up around it. And then secondly, like I wasn't really, I loved hip hop. I knew that much. I loved breakdancing. I loved DJing. I loved anything that had to do with it. But I wasn't, nothing else was really, I didn't have like a way of being accepted. Like, I wasn't really that good at sports, except martial arts. I wasn't really that good. Like, scholastics I wasn't like a standout. I was intelligent, but I wasn't like, anything great in school. So music was like my way of being. I found like a lot of validation that I was lacking. And then one of my homies, like, doing a freestyle, like the way you always discover you could rap, like you're freestyling someone, like their eyes widen and they're like, oh shit, like you got something. You're
nice.
Like word. And then just kind of went from there. You know what I'm saying? I used to break dance a lot. And I got my first set of turntables, and me and my homies started DJing at house parties, trying to make extra bread for like our graduation party and shit. Like, and then in those house parties that you're DJing, someone grabs the mic, you flip over the instrumental side of the cause we have vinyl too, and then you got them CDs that actually got instrumentals on them. You throw them on somehow, some way, and it's a freestyle session. And I remember just grabbing the mic at something I was hosting, and I was thinking like, man, like if that gets an applause, like I think I got something that might, and I tried it, and then it becomes addicting once you get that clap and once you get them eyes wide and the head, it becomes addicting. So I caught the bug off of just being immersed in hip hop culture and giving the mic a try, trying that element. And it was like, nah, but rap, the bar is set high at, I want to say back then, like I'm old, but back then, now it seems like a lot of people rap, but back then the bar was set so high that you weren't just like, oh, I could rap, I'm gonna be a rapper. You had to be sure, like, am I nice? And after a few of them validations and head nods at them parties, it was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Well, first I want to ask you, what song was it that you were like, how do I explain it? Because I got introduced to hip hop by a group called Tres Delincuentes, and I liked it, right? And then we moved here closer to Houston, and I got introduced to South Park Mexican, SPM, and I liked his music, became a fan of his music. But it wasn't until I got a hold of Tupac Greatest Hits and America's Most Wanted came on with Snoop. That song made me feel like, damn, this rap shit is dope, man. Like, I want in. What song was it for you that brought you into wanting to do rap? If you can remember.
The song that made me into rap music, like wanting to listen to like more of it and thumb through it, was Scarface, Never Seen a Man Cry. My Uncle Rini, who's like my brother, he's my padrino, he was big into rap. And he used to have an ill collection, and he loved Scarface. He was a diehard Scarface fan. And when I heard that song, I never really heard anything like it except maybe like them old country and western songs that I was referring back to, where like it had like a theme, it had a story, it had a beginning, middle, end. It had like dark elements, and it just made you seem like, dude, this is crazy. Like, what else is in here? What else they got? So Scarface really pulled me in, like really, really pulled me in. And then Snoop, when Snoop hit the ground running and he made the news, when he had that Murder Was the Case video coming out where he transformed like from a dog and all that. Remember that? Yeah. That shit was ill. And he was like simultaneously on trial for the murder case that he got acquitted of. But that whole time era, I remember it being on the news and seeing him perform like on Saturday Night Live, and Snoop was just everywhere, man. People forget how big of a star Snoop was, and like he's a household friendly kind of like character, now. Yeah. But then like he was that dude, you know what I mean? The way he rocked his hat, like the hoodie, like he was a bona fide star, man. And Snoop really made me like think I could kind of do it, because he's nice, but he has like a natural. He was the first that wasn't like super duper lyrical to where, I don't know how to say it without downplaying him. It's like, man, I could maybe do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's he wasn't super crazy with it, but he brought his own flavor, and that's what made him work. You know what I mean? So Snoop was like, dude, maybe, but nah. You know what I mean? Like, nah. But like, if Snoop was like, yeah, maybe one day I'll be a rapper. Like, yeah, that whole Snoop was Murder Was the Case, Nothing But a G thing, and that made me think like maybe I could one day be a Snoop. Yeah. But Scarface pulled me in as a listener. Like when you find a box of comics, you know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, yeah. For sure.
I feel you. Yeah. And the other question I wanted to ask as far as that goes, again, in around the time I got introduced to hip hop here, there was like, we have our favorites, right? And at the time it was anything that had to do with SPM, anything that had to do with Dope House and Shut 'Em Down Records. That was the shit we were listening to. When it comes to Corpus Christi, what artists, I'll make this clear before I go any further, because I know I'm gonna get heated if I don't. R.I.P. to Flatline. I know Flatline is a big influence in Corpus.
Off top.
Yeah. But I want to, besides Flatline, what other artists do y'all have out there that is kind of like the ones y'all were looking up to, the ones y'all were listening to?
We got cheat codes, like what I call it, like cheat codes, where it's like, oh man, like you can't say that one, but like people forget, like DJ Kane is from Corpus Christi, Texas. Kane, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and then that's when people like trying to slim it down. Like we mean like rappers. But you gotta understand, DJ Kane is pretty much like an R&B pop artist who sings in Spanish.
Everywhere.
Like, he was everywhere. There was hip hop elements, and when Cumbia Kings hit the ground, like rap fans gravitated towards it, R&B fans gravitated towards it. You know what I mean? If you like dance, like booty shaking music, you had that CD. Like that CD is like, it's hip hop in a way, if you will. It's Corpus culture. So we got DJ Kane right off top. Like ain't no one really got the accolades he does except for his sister, right? I mean, except for AB Quintanilla and his sister, the groups that they were part of. So we got AB Quintanilla, we got DJ Kane, we got Selena off top. They like royalty. And then we got our hip hop scene. We got our whole underground hip hop scene. And man, that's had like its different eras. That has like its different waves. Like let's see, you got Dapper Don. Can't take nothing away from Dapper Don, who's done some big things in the industry. We got Too Swift, right, who's now in LA, like doing movie scores and producing for soundtracks and stuff like that. We got the next wave. No, let me even back up further. We have Four Corner Hustlers. We have Four Corner Hustlers. Hold up.
Yeah.
Them boys was in Sam Goody, FYE. You know, if I really talk about like the people who made me, everybody local made me decide I could do this rap shit. Like everything else was just like a byproduct. Of course Pac, of course Snoop, of course 50. But like everyone that really, really influenced me was like seeing my homeboy Nino B get drafted into the Kumbia Kings like in high school. Was like seeing Four Corner Hustlers who produced for a lot of local cats, like, you know, actually be in stores with a barcode and everything. We had Low Key Ballers actually moving
Low Key
units.
Ballers, that was another one.
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
What was the there was a song that brought Four Corner Hustlers into our radar. They had with Lucky Luciano.
That's one of the things where like
was it Four Corner Hustlers?
Well, do you remember chopping on swingers or chopping on swingers, chopping on blades with Ice from Four Corner Hustlers? You remember Ice?
Ice, yeah, Ice still active. Yeah,
Ice still active. He had like a legit, you know what I mean, hit out of his camp. And they definitely had songs with Lucky Luciano. We did get in the craze though, like.
Yeah,
it's like on the spot question.
I'm on YouTube right now.
Thank
it was
you.
actually Low Key Ballers. It wasn't Four Corner Hustlers that I was talking about.
Common
Low
mix
Key
up.
Ballers. The name of the song was Swing and Bang.
Swing and Bang. It had its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a legit hit. That was a legit like on the radio, moving units. Yeah. We got pioneers there, bro.
I just saved the video because we just went back in time.
We went back in time, man.
All right, so you become an artist. Talk to us about that process. What was that like? Where you've always been AB DVinci, or what was your previous rap name? And we'll talk about TMP here in a second. But before TMP, what was your scene like as an artist?
I came in like I would say, you know, the next wave after them, right? We came in with like Willie Nichols, the Gotti Gang, Immaculate. Gunplay Music, like my boy Merc Rock, you know, the Gunplay Music
R.I.P.
General, RP Merc Rock. Yeah, everyone heard of Merc. You know Merc Rock?
It's funny because I never got to meet him. I never got to meet Merc, but the reason I know of him was because even when I was an artist, he would always show love.
Yeah.
Like I've had him on Facebook for fucking many years. Never got to meet him as a person, but the dude always showed love. Then I made the transition into the podcast and he would message me like, hey, I like what you're doing, G, blah, blah, blah. I just never got to work with him, but yeah, he always showed love.
Yeah, he was a real friend in the game. Like I don't use that word loosely. Merc Rock was a real friend of mine. And so I came in with them. And the whole thing is like when my generation is fortunate because we came with the whole ecosystem. We didn't just have like a roster of rappers. We also got like for every rapper, you got a producer. And for every producer, you got a video guy. And for every video guy, you got an engineer. Like, you know, every city got the top 10, top 20 list. We have enough to do one like for each of those categories, like top 5 engineers in the city, top 5 producers in the city. So I came in with those rappers, but also along with producers like Gabe Parker, Johnny Moog, QB The Problem, you know, who has like 50 Cent placements, stuff like that, like with some real talented guys. And like the videographers, the engineers we got to complement the whole ecosystem, like it really makes Corpus this untapped market of like talent, and it's crazy, and people are starting to catch on. That's how we got signed to 1836. They went, you know, peeping around Corpus because it's making a lot of noise as a collective.
Yeah,
you know, we even got another generation like of its own future comers who like really taking the game serious and taking it to the next level at an earlier age, figuring out what we did or didn't do previously, and then like getting to it already. So I'm telling you, man, Corpus is. It's still sharp and steel.
I need to tap in, you know, into Corpus. I need to tap into a lot of other cities. I started a series where I talk about, you know, Texas land legends, and right now I'm focusing in Houston, you know, because obviously I'm more familiar with the Houston area, but I want to eventually make a you know, legends list of Corpus and Dallas, and I made that clear on the series. I was like, hey, I'm not being disrespectful to Dallas, to San Antonio, Corpus. I understand everybody has their legends, but I'm starting with Houston because that's what I'm familiar with.
Definitely.
And you know, I you know, encourage people to drop a comment, let me know who is a legend in your city, and that way I can, you know, look into it and continue the series. But I definitely need to tap in with Corpus, man, because again, Flatline was big. Flatline spent a lot of time out here in Houston and whatnot. Had a lot of connections in Houston, and unfortunately, outside of that, you know, I'm familiar with, obviously, we mentioned Low Key Ballers, Four Corner Hustlers, Mark. Like I said, you know, I followed him. and you know, once you mention some names, I'm like, okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. They're not a household name out here, and obviously Houston is a bigger city, and it will be cool to bring attention to those artists, you know, on my platform and whatnot. So yeah, shouts out to Corpus, man. So your first project, what was the title of your first project when you dropped?
Title of my first project was called TSO. I started it was like a Run DMC or duo.
You said TSO. Hold on, I don't mean to crack jokes, but you said TSO. I thought of Texas State Optical.
That's what my mom said, yo. Like that's what my mom said. She like Texas State Optical, mijo. I was like, no, not like 361. It was a double. It was a double acronym. The 361 and the Streets option. It was me and my late best friend, Francisco Mota. Rest in peace, my G. And we came out fresh out of high school. I sold my DJ equipment, right? Like I'm gonna fast forward. I ain't gonna bore the whole story and start from the third grade, but you know what I mean? I started as a break dancer, wanted to do that. My homeboy Nino B was like the illest break dancer I knew, so I used to try to emulate him. Fell into DJ from that, and then from DJing, I explained how I caught the interest of rapping. So me and my homie, we graduated high school. We hustled 3 different ways to get our first, like studio time was like $40, $35 an hour, you know what I'm saying? Before everyone had one of these set up in their house. So I fucking sold all my DJ equipment. We got a part-time job doing some landscaping, bitch work. And then we was doing our thing on the side. So we was getting money however we could to cut this first tape called TSO. That was the Run DMC, me and him, TSO. It was called Destroy and Rebuild. And we burnt out grandma's computer, fucking burning it. Remember every grandma had a computer and they had them AOLs, this, it flying all over the place. We busted the shit out that computer, burning a bunch of copies, went around the city, the schools, everywhere, really, really moving them. And it was on since then. And then from then, his cousins moved in from Puerto Rico, and we clicked up immediately, and we started an actual label, like registered it and everything. We were starting LLCs before it was the thing to do, and we started Prestigious Records. So that was a crew. It was me, my boy Cisco, Tito, Jose, aka Calico Jack, and their adopted brother Marty, the white boy of the crew. And it was us five MCs, and then we had our R&B singer Lon. So it was a group called the Prestigious Boys, and we was really doing clubs. We was on the road with the G-Boys. I don't know if you heard the G-Boys back in the Gap. And we was really out there as some youngsters moving tapes, moving CDs. Got a second Prestigious mixtape called Now and Forever, Prestigious Now and Forever. And then we dropped the third Prestigious mixtape. And it's just been on. And then Cisco died, which kind of dismantled the group. Not as friends, just as a group. Everyone kind of, it breaks a lot of people when something like that happens where they really kind of lose the luster for, you know, because it's sad. So a lot of them went their own ways, found their careers, but we're still brothers to this day. But I kept trucking with the music as a solo artist. That's when AB DVinci really started branding it. I created like my own lane. I dropped a Guapo Gustavo mixtape. And then after that, I've just been dropping tapes under AB DVinci since, as opposed to Prestigious. I've just been on my solo shit. Guapo Gustavo, Sleeping on the Southpaw. The Manifesto Volume 2, did a tape with Aunt Illa, you know, just trying to stay consistent. After my boy died, like, I really just started feeling pressed for time, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, lost a lot of homies along the way, and each one, they just kind of, you know, remind me that, shit, we're not here forever, so I just grinded, trying to get everything out, till I came across my boy Droopy M and them, and clicked up, you know what I mean, with the camp, and not so solo no more, so we got a good thing going now.
Yeah, back off a little bit. Let me ask you something here. You mentioned, you know, burning the CDs, which is crazy, because a lot of people don't, you know, I get a lot of 19, 20-year-old listeners. They probably don't even know what a fucking CD is. But let's talk about the transition from that era, from being out here actually having a physical copy, you know, having to present yourself to somebody and you had maybe a minute to be like, hey, buy my shit jams, blah, 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 to now, where it's the digital era, where you can put your music out and hope people share it, and it's going to get into the ears of a lot of people without even having to do that hustle. In your opinion, how has that transition been like, going from the disc to the digital era, and how do you feel like it's helped you as an artist?
All right. Well, remember I said like there was 3 things that got me into hip hop, right? Yeah. 1, growing up with music. 2, the validation, and 3, the economics. Like, I'm an artist, but just through blood, man, I'm a hustler above anything. And just the profit margin on CDs was unbeatable, man. Like how you could, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
I miss that. I don't want to sound like an old head that can't adapt to times, but there's something to be said about profit margin. Profit margin is, you know what I mean? You make 100 for what, $75 and selling for $10 a piece. It's a no-brainer, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when people had no other option except but to consume their music that way. So if you had the shit, they had a cop from you. If you had that dope, they had a cop from you. They couldn't go around.
Yeah.
But then you couldn't get it to everybody. You could make a grip, but then you add it up. They're like, what, maybe 100 people, 200 people heard my music, and that's not shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need thousands. So that's where the streaming helps, because like you said, you get it out there to the world quicker without leaving your room. But then you get paid a fraction of a penny for each. So it's helped in the exposure. But then if you're a real hustler, you got to learn how to flip that. So you're losing the profit margin on the product itself, the music itself. So that's what you said we were talking about earlier with GT Garza, stressing the merch. So then you got to realize that what's changed is the product is no longer music. The advertising tool to your brand is the music. And the product is now your merch. Or you better have a really good live show set, so your presence and your performance is now what they pay for, and the music is the vehicle to funnel them in to whatever your brand is about. You know what I mean? Some people got dispensaries, some people got energy drinks. I mean, most people go with the clothes, or the experience. You know what I mean? Your live show got to be dope, but the music was what brings them in.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And you're right. It's nowadays you gotta get billions of if you.
I think a million's like 3,000.
That's what I was about to say. Let's talk. If you were able to sell 1 million copies with a minimum of $5 profit,
you can retire. That's the last thing you ever got to do for your life. Yeah,
you got to make. But now with 1 million streams, you gonna get like.
You got a month of a living. If you do stretch $3K a month, some people still can't make $3K. You got about a month before you got to do it again or get a job. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a wild difference, and that's why I like to get the artist's perspective on how they feel on that change. But let's talk about recent stuff. And before we get into the recent music and whatnot, I want to get the listener an idea who anybody watching or listening who may never heard your music before. How would you describe your style to somebody that has never listened to your music before?
Man, first time I ever used this combination of word, but for the sake of time, not to bore the listeners, I would say Texas lyrical. Boom, that's weird. I never really branded it like that. But just in a nutshell, because it's Texas, so I don't want to say like turn a lot of my Texas diehard fans off by saying like I'm East Coast influenced, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, here we go. But I am, you know what I'm saying? I'm real East Coast influenced, but I'm born and raised in Texas. So like I'm just East Coast influenced by like ear, but you can't shake like that Southern soul.
Yeah.
So my music has a lot of soul, got a lot of bounce, got a lot of bass. It's not like just snare and hi-hat, you know what I'm saying? So it got that Southern flavor, but I really be rapping, which it ain't so different these days. Back then, you know, when I was coming up, I was a standout, you know, when everyone was swinging, banging. And that style, I love that style too. But my whole niche was like, I'm going to come in different. And add some bars in that. And now it's kind of a little bit more common. You know, you can find some GT Garza was a big influence on my style too, or at least validation that it could be done. I was like, man, that boy on to something right there.
Yeah.
And so I'm lyrical, man. I'm a lyricist for sure, but I don't neglect dope production and dope hooks. Like, but it's meant to motivate. It's with a purpose, man. My music is a verb. Like it's meant for you like to drive to hustle to work out to. You take a break. There's some smoke and chill songs, but it's to get you moving. It comes with a message. It comes with the theme. It's not just like done in vain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
With that being said, what song would be the song that you would recommend to somebody that, like as we mentioned, you know, when you were slanging CDs, you had to have that pitch, like, hey, let me rap for you right quick. This is what you're gonna get. But what song would be the song you tell somebody like, hey, I know you've never heard my music before, but check out this song. It's gonna bring you in.
Word, yeah. So like if I was talking to, you know, like if I were to come up to you, I'd be like, yo, check out my record like so far. Far. It's like probably my style in a nutshell. Cause I'm a hook writer too. You know what I'm saying? My hooks be smacking. Like my hooks are like some Tyson hooks. So yeah, I kill the bars and the hooks, it's a display of my hook writing skills. And then my brother E-Mac gets the second verse. So I'll show him so far if you know, if I want to show him more a little bit something hard but still catchy. And then if I was showing something to like your mom or like my aunt, or they're like, mijo, what song? Show them your song. You know, you go to a party and you're like, fuck, like you got to show your grandma your song. You know what I mean?
It's funny.
You know what I mean? I know you know what you're saying. You're like, damn. Like, which one?
They're so proud of you. They're like, show them your song. Like,
right.
Damn, I cuss a lot on that one.
Right. That would be no regrets. No regrets. Well, I talk to, you know, family members on that one. I talk to, you know, my kids on that one. I really, in case the day of, you know, hopefully ain't fucking 70 years from now, but in case I got to check out, there's a message there left behind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So go back and play that. My kids go back and play that and get realigned and refocused. So I say so far and no regrets.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. Fast forward to your current music. I was looking down your catalog and I see you haven't dropped an EP since 2021. The EP you dropped then was a 5-track EP. Perseverance EP. I don't know why I only put perserve, but that's all I typed. But yeah, so it's a 5-track EP. It's actually dope. I fuck with it. You got my boy Castro Escobar featured on there as well.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Before we get an explanation of why you haven't dropped since then, let's talk about this since it is your last EP that you dropped. Talk to us about this 5-track project and you know how it come together.
For sure. That project I dropped, it was December of 2021, which I was thinking about waiting until 2022. That way it has that year stamp and it don't seem like so far, you know what I mean, away from the last album drop. But I dropped it at the end of 2021 to keep me, you know, keep the momentum going for the year 2022. And that was the first project I recorded in Austin. So I was still getting my feet planted and getting acclimated there. I just dropped the Manifesto and the Manifesto 2. That was kind of like mostly pre-recorded before it was released. But then when I got to Austin, I was like, man, I got to click up with some producers out here. So I clicked up with this dude named Treadell, but he goes by 1T, 2 L's, spelled out. 1TEE, 2 L's, ELLZ. My guy.
Yeah.
Ill producer out of Austin. We said, man, let's cook. So he sent me one, knocked it out the park. Sent me another one, gave him So Far. Sent me another one. I gave him the one with Castro, Hold Me Down. He was like, oh. So he just kept feeding. And we got our way up to 6. So we had 6 records, and it was like, let's drop it. Let's drop an EP. We in the times of EPs, you know what I mean? So I'm used to doing 10, 12, 8 at the least. It's like, let's do an EP. So we dropped 6. Had my boy, part of the Merck's old HR crew, do the artwork.
Yeah.
Talented graffiti artist and just artists in general. He did that artwork for me when I'm on the ninja, you know what I mean? On the ninja tip on the roof and shit. And then we dropped it, you know what I'm saying? And it was dope. And then it became a 5-track EP because we got the group TMP, Take Money Productions, the label got signed to 1836. We'll get to that. We'll back up on that. But when we got signed, they loved the single on there, the second single off of that one, Just for the Weekend. They loved that record so much that they talked us into taking it off. And if you ever done it as a distributor, it's a pain in the ass. Where you take down your whole record, we gave them one of them, that was like track number 4, had to rearrange the whole EP, put it back up, and gave the label the 6th record, which was Just for the Weekend, which is how Perseverance ended up being a 5-record EP. All produced by 1T, 2 L's though, the whole joint.
That's dope. So you said about backtracking. Obviously you with TMP right now, but 1836, that was the first label you got signed to?
Good question. TMP is the crew. TMP was started by my homeboy Droopy M and Caesar, aka SOG. Droopy went on vacation for 10 years. He came back home. And we hit the ground running with TMP. That's a nice
way of wording it.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. He had to go sit down.
Yeah.
He came home, and TMP was kind of already started as a crew with the original members. SOG and Droopy N go back since childhood days, and he scooped me up. You know what I mean? As I was rolling solo, and I fucked with them organically through like back in the day. We messed with the same show promoter. Shout out to Dax. So I knew Droopy. I needed a team. I liked what he was about. We clicked up. It was a few years back when we started Take Money Productions, the new squad. And, SOG and Droopy kind of went their separate ways, civilly. And then me being who I am, like I said, being a hustler at first and not unfamiliar with starting LLCs and record labels like I did with Prestigious, Like, yo, we need to take this TMP a brand. Like, we gotta, I didn't overthink the name or want to rewrite history. Like, we're already rocking with it. Let's keep it going, but let's make it an LLC. Let's get a website. Let's get merch going. I like the way it sounds. Take Money Productions, TMP. It got some ring to it, and let's turn it into something. So he was like, bet. So we started. We got it registered. We got the website going. We basically added the TMP aspect to my AB DVinci website, and we were like, man, we're gonna go full fledged with it, and we're gonna start a label. So that's what it is. It started up a label, Take Money Productions, and we're all solo artists under it. But we'd always hit the stage like a lot of labels do. You got to showcase your whole label or your whole set like in 15 minutes, right? You open up, we go around, so you try to showcase all your artists in one set. So what ends up happening is labels a lot of time in the hip hop world end up looking like groups. Yeah. Right? And so 1836, my man A.G. Gilly and Kirby were in the audience because they were the ones that threw the show. We were performing at the DJ Paul show, the 3-6 Mafia show in Corpus. So we was on that show. Shout out to Drippy Drew out of Corpus, Young Gun out of Corpus, Young Star. And he put us on that show. 1836 put us on that show. We killed the set. We performed just for the weekend. They got off stage and they was like, yo, want to holler at y'all. Went to the after party, the Nest. Linked up with them, we sat down at 1836, and then eventually ended up inking the deal off of the records and the performance they saw that night.
That's dope.
So the label got signed to a label.
Yeah, the label got signed to a label.
The label got signed to a label.
That's dope, man. And you talking about these shows, and before I ask you, before I forget, you mentioned opening up for 3-6 Mafia. I've seen you open up for Zero. I just want to talk about that experience, being able to open up for such established artists, and what was that experience like for y'all?
Those are always like the big games. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you got little games, you got medium sized games, and then you got the big game. And we always love those shows where we get to open up for a star in a big venue because the crowd's always going to be healthy. You're always going to really you feel hungry. You're always going to get the chance to like meet new fans. You want to give them your best. That's when you really get a fresh outfit. You pop tags. So yeah, we opened up for Zero in Corpus at the American Bank Center, which was big on its own just to perform at the American Bank Center. And we opened up for DJ Paul at Brewster's, and we also opened up for the Yin Yang Twins at Brewster's. But in between that, we was on tour through Texas, so there was all part of like all sizes of shows. There were stops that me and Droop were running all the way down from Corpus, all the way up to Dallas, and everywhere in between, doing shows like in Oak Cliff, the Corpus, and in Austin, downtown. And then in between those shows at nightclubs and stuff would be a big Zero show or a big Yin Yang Twin show. And we'd always turn up a little bit more for those. Just like in our mind, we always kill it no matter how small or big the crowd is. We always give it our all, leave it all on stage. But like I said, you just feel like, under them big lights per se, those are the best, man. I never get tired of doing those big shows.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I say, and the reason I asked, because that shit got to be cool, man. A lot of artists, unfortunately will never be able to experience those kind of things to open up for legends, you know what I mean? Like fucking 3-6 Mafia, you're talking about Zero. They're legends, man. Yeah. And to be able to open up for them, and like you said, in hopes of some of that crowd to become your fans, it's a good look. It's a good look, man. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. 2023, talk to us about what have you dropped so far this year?
Yeah, so the reason why I haven't dropped like an AB DVinci project since 2021 is because since we've gotten signed, and even a bit before that, we really been focusing on getting the TMP project out. We wanted to get, like a Rough Riders We Are the Streets kind of joint out where we get to showcase the label. And now it's the label, it's still a label, but now it's a group. Yeah. So we've been dropping our TMP singles just for the weekend. They got scooped off of my album, but it's the TMP song. Me and Droop on there. Shout out to T-Rest on the hook. And then we've been pushing their new single, No Hesitation, featuring the real TMP group, all three of us, which is me, Droopy M, and Kevin Davis. And the No Hesitation joint is what we're pushing right now. So like when you're with the label, like you release when they release. You drop when they drop. So we slowed down a little bit. We had to pump the brakes. So we got to figure out new ways of keeping that momentum that we usually have there when you're able to drop at your own free will. You know what I mean? So I've personally been focusing on this TMP project for now. Like, I didn't want to spread myself too thin or fucking get, the audience confused on what they should be focused on. So right now it's all about the camp. There'll be an AB DVinci project coming soon. There's already one in the can, like, fresh new music ready to go. But right now, yeah, pushing the label, pushing the group through 1836 has been like the focus. Yeah.
Cool. So this you guys have a group project.
Yeah.
That you're working on. When can we expect? Is there a release date for this yet, or?
There's not a release date, but it's done. Like, if we add anything else, it's just for good measure. It's just to add a couple more. It's done. We got 15 records ready to go. Me, Kevin, Droopy M, all on there. We got features from my boy Point. We got a Young Buck feature on there. We got some heat on there. A lot of ill production from Gay Parker, Johnny Moog. AG Gilly, whose actual claim to fame is like he wrote and executive produced the record Tipsy, right? Yeah. That's a lot of his residual income that funds the labels through like the record Tipsy. And he produced Snoop Dogg's first Limit album. And when I say produced, no one ever means from top to bottom, but he's on that. You open up that piece of that long ass, credit in the CD, he's on that motherfucker like a few times. So we got him as a producer on there. Yeah, the album's hot, dog. We got a song called Fuego that was also up doing numbers on the distributors, but the label liked it so much, so we're, we got faith in them. We're taking the gamble that we sharing these pieces of art with the label, so we're splitting profits in hopes of the pie being bigger. So you know how it is. Now you sharing, but hopefully they reaches a bigger market for the bigger picture. So we got heat on there. We got some gems on that album. And I believe we rolling with the title. I think I can give you all the title. So the record No Hesitation is the title track. So I think that's going to be the name of the album, TMP No Hesitation. And it's dope. Yeah. I love it, dog. We recorded it quick. We got signed. We got in the studio. Like, we did 3 or 4 sessions, and we knocked out like 3 or 4 records at a time. You know what I'm saying? Went back to just added a couple of more that we had already on stash, balance it out. It's a nice, healthy project. So safe to say we'll be getting this project sometime in 2024? And you got to talk to AG Gilly or my boy Kirby. We're hoping. We also don't want to rush it. Like, I'm not even going to lie. These singles need to be, I understand the strategy. We need to push these singles. We need to create the buzz. We need to create a little bit more steam before we give them a full 15 songs. Yeah. In the days of singles and quick attention spans, I mean, there's no rush to just dump 16 songs on somebody because they're going to quickly be forgotten, especially if you're real with yourself and you're not like a superstar, you local. You could hold some cards back, bro, and like really just push a single for a while. Create a strategy. Create a strategy. But it's there. And we're not going to be shysty with the singles or with snippets. Like social media, you can hear a lot of early stuff. Like, you know how it is. People consume a lot through reels or through stores or through like, they rarely, I mean, some people stream the actual record off of the distributor, but it's always through like another medium where they hear them. That one piece they like. That's all over our social media. So we're going to be, hitting people with new music here and there. Yeah. Man, for anybody watching or listening that don't currently follow you on social media, where can they find you on all social media pages? Man, I got a stronghold on AB DVinci everywhere, bro. AB DVinci on anything. Instagram, trying to get my gram up, so hit me on the gram. Facebook, you know what I'm saying? That's been there since day one. That ain't going nowhere. AB DVinci, and then you got AB DVinci music page, which is like where you get the followers, and instead of the friends, the business page. Hit up the motherfucking music page for sure, and the Instagram. I got a TikTok, but AB DVinci, you put it in Google, and then you just choose your abdvinci.com. You know what I'm saying? I got a stronghold on the .com. Get your merch there. Get these hats there. Get the hoodies there. Get everything there. Chanclas. We got chanclas on it too. All the TMP chanclas. We'll be sharing the link on the description of the podcast, description of the video. Hey man, it was dope to get to know you as a person. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that you were saying, I was able to relate to just because that's around the same environment that I grew up on. So that was kind of dope to be able to connect that way, man. And we'll be connected, man. Like I said, we'll stay in touch. We'll put the links to your music, put the links to his social media on, as I mentioned, on the description of the video, description of the podcast. Make sure you guys hit that follow button, stream the music, check out the music videos, all that good stuff. AB DVinci, all the way from Corpus Christi, currently in Austin. We appreciate your time, bro. Hey, man. Thank you for having me, brother. It's an honor, man. Thank you, bro.
Once again, make sure you guys drop a comment. Let us know who you like for us to have next. And before we let you go, any last words?
Hey, yo, man, shout out to the whole city of Corpus. Shout out to the city of Austin, been holding me down. Shout out to the whole state of Texas, man. Born, raised, proud native of Texas. Let me just get it cracking for the underground, man. All the artists keep pushing out there.
Let's go, man. Once again, I'm JVaz, AB DVinci, and you're watching Texas Underground. Let's go.